So we are recording the session. Why don't we do like a brief introductions, like 1 minute, so people get to know each other? Because one of our goals here is to get to know other colleagues from all over the world. So why don't we go around and just share whatever you want to share in 1 minute? Not um, so I'm getting a request from a companion. So I don't know where it's coming from. Anyways, so let's go around and let's just share for 1 minute anything you want to share about you so people get to know you if they don't know you. This small group. So my request is not longer than 1 minute, would take too long. So I think 1 minute, a couple of things you want people to know about you, where you're based, anything you want to share.
I can go first. I was the first to join.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm in Australia. I've been coaching over 20 years. What else? And I'm Hungarian originally, so hence my funny name in a way. And yeah, I love being in community with supervisors, coaches, mentors, and I like to give back. But Damian, very tempting, but I don't know, like I will end up volunteering all my time. I need to be mindful. Maybe not this time, but next year.
Okay. So the job is not very time consuming. It's basically coming to the meetings and adding to that, just we coordinate. So we get speakers or activities. I can still get the person doing the flyers. So it's more about just having a second person in case that something happened to help me.
Yeah.
But if I can be here for anything like last time at the last minute. Yeah. Okay, great. Bruce, do you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next. I'm a Canadian by birth, but I've spent the last 40 years in Asia. So I came to Singapore in 1987. I'm now based in Chiang Mai, Thailand, because I can.
Yeah, that's great. Beautiful place.
Yeah, but I did spend a big chunk of time down in Australia, so they gave me a passport. So I've been to Australia and so I have a connection with Australia. I do a lot of work at INSEAD. I've been a coach there for 24 years. And in that, I have a lead coach role, which includes some supervision. So there's my connection to all of this.
Great to have you here. Silcha, do you want to go next?
Okay, I'm Simchu from Malaysia, family also from Singapore. I'm a mentor coach for certification for Tier 1, Tier 2. I do executive coaching and supervision. Actually love being part of a community, and I really appreciate Damian and the group that has been coming. Many of you have been coming consistently, and it'd be heartbreaking if you discontinue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking at one point because we didn't have many people coming. Like with Jacqui, we were just two of us. Like, like I was rushing just to get to the hotel. I don't know
Yeah.
what part of the world Jacqui was getting.
It was so funny. It was just us two.
Yeah. So
Well,
I'll
I'm
go
wondering
next if you like.
so I'll ask a question. So just Damien is wondering if it's possible if we find it's not possible to do monthly, maybe a quarterly,
yeah,
if that's another option, if the group feels that's another option to consider.
I am open. I am open to, or every other month, maybe instead of every month. I think that it has to be something that is valuable for people. If people see the value, they may want to come. And then there are work, and work is always a priority. If something come up, it's work related, always
Yeah.
work will go first. But then it has to be something attractive and also building the relationships, wanting to come here so you know you're going to be seeing your colleagues, that's the other piece. So yeah, let's consider that as an option. Jacqui?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm based in Australia as well, and I've got a practice that focuses primarily with teams and groups and one-to-one coaching. It's now literally just turned 10 years old, so cause for celebration. And recently I've moved into offering more supervision, particularly for groups and particularly for team coaches that are looking for supervision. And that's a key focus of mine. And supervision's come to me quite late. I mean, I've engaged in it myself ever since I qualified 20 years ago. But actually delivering it is a new area for me. So it's great to be part of this group. Thank you.
Sunni, do you want to go next?
I'll go next. Yes, I'm based on the West Coast where Damian is, and started with this group back when I became certified in group and individual supervision. And I was coming on a regular basis, partly because I had an exercise class right before this, so it was easy for me. But that class has been canceled now, so it's sort of very strange. But I'd like to maintain the connection with the Asian Coaching Supervision Network, because I've done some presentations here and really appreciated the group, and did some work with some coaches in a coaching school in China.
Great to have you here. So Sunny is my only neighbor here in this group. Scott, you want to go next?
Hi, I am in Wuhan, China, the famous city, and I just finished the Damian supervision course last May. So work in the coaching for the organization I work with here in China. And it's like supervisors, you are my people, right? And so I just love this space. Doesn't matter what the topic is, just the rich conversations. So last month I was on a plane, so that's why. It's a scheduling reason. I really do value this time and really appreciate the richness of the experience, regardless of what the topic is.
Great to have you back. And Jeanne-Elvire, good seeing you. And I apologize again for last week that I couldn't come.
That's fine. Good morning, everyone. I'm based in France. I have been a coach for about 20 years and a coach supervisor for 15 years with Michel Moral. And last year, I get specialized as a existential and psychodynamic supervisor. I work with group, although I am a systemic team coach. I work with group, currently supervising a group in Africa. I'm a returning participant here, even if there is a time difference. So this is it, and I really enjoyed. I also did some presentation here. Then Sim was there, and in Sunni as well. So it's a place where we can learn a lot. This is peer learning, and it is great to show up, even from time to time.
It's great to have you. And the invitation is for everyone to also do a session, like I have been asking, because we all co-create this together. So and in the past, half of you have done sessions, so I want to invite the other half who have not done it yet. And you don't have to prepare a lecture, you may facilitate a conversation. So it's not that you have to come with a formal session. The only thing that you need to do is to prepare a couple of questions and facilitate a conversation about the topic where we can all learn from each other. Like today, we're going to be talking about group supervision. Particularly, the idea was to focus on contracting. For next month, I got, I don't know if anybody here knows Kathleen Stinnett. She's an MCC and she's a supervisor, and she
From
has
Australia.
a lot of experience. She lives, where does she lives? I think she's in the US. No, I don't know if she's originally from Australia, but now she lives in the West Coast here, close to
Santa Barbara.
Yeah,
I
I
see.
see. US, yeah.
Yeah, she's a very experienced coach and supervisor. She's well known. So she wanted to come to do a demo. So the idea is to maybe bring an experience, and she would demonstrate a group supervision demo.
That would be great.
And so today the idea is to explore together contracting as an issue. And I've always sharing that there is a new book that Lily Ciro and Michelle Lucas came up on coaching supervision and group supervision.
Yeah.
So the idea is, if you want to get the book, we can discuss it together, like in this space, like one of the things we can do. And I wrote a chapter on contracting. So the idea was maybe we can spend some time exploring some of the challenges in contracting in group supervision.
And I did a chapter on co-creating coherence in that same book.
And maybe we can spend even time on that instead too, as a possibility.
Yeah, we did our presentation last month. I co-wrote that with Zsofia, who's in South Africa.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you share? Like for me, it's more interesting to hear what you have to say than to repeat my
It's okay.
presentation about contracting. Well, do you want to share a little bit about your chapter? What? No, I'm serious. That
Well, you know what?
for
I
me
would
very
love to do the sort of the presentation I did for the
Okay.
group, actually, which I
Okay.
think might even be more interesting. You weren't there, Damian, but we
Yeah.
actually showed a video and had a breakout session for the
Okay.
groups. And not to give a spoiler, but part of it had to do with, you know, when you are in a situation, you must, in the ocean, you must lose sight of the shore at some point. And there was a metaphor for that in supervision also. And so it was really, I think, inspiring for people. And Jeanne-Elvire was there, I think.
Yes, I
I don't
did.
know, Simchu, you weren't there, were you, for that session? But it was really, people found it very interesting. So maybe I can do that for this group.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be nice.
I missed it because the time zone was not
Yeah.
so conducive and I couldn't stay up.
It was exactly when the time changed. So people were very confused.
Yeah, that's probably very crazy.
But I hear they're not going to change the time zone anymore in the future. It's going to just stay the same.
But there's one on liberating wisdom, and I believe it's Asia Pacific time.
Yes, that's next week.
Friday, yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, good. You had the book and everything ready. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Sam, if you're available in 2 months, like Catherine is
Sure.
coming next month, in 2 months we can have that. That's great. We have that in place.
Mhm.
Now, in terms of contracting, what we wrote in the chapter was that when you're working with groups and you're supervising groups, it's a little bit different than when you're doing one-on-one, because the one key element is if the coaches who are joining the group have or not have experience in coaching, supervision. Because to be a good supervisor, I say that when I train coaches, to be a good coach, you need a good coachee. And to be a good supervisor, you need a good supervisee. It's like you want to work with somebody who is present, committed, engaged. And when you work with groups, people can come in different places in terms of how much experience they have in supervision and how willing they are to open up and to and to engage. And in my experience, you need to spend more time clarifying expectations, because the expectations can be maybe not realistic. And then there is this whole issue of shame that I don't think we talk enough. Like how people are going to be willing to deal with shame about coming up with questions or insecurities or challenges. So these are a couple of areas that I do believe sometimes, and in my experience, in my own practice, sometimes I want to spend more time on, based on not doing it in the past, learning my lessons and spending my time in what do I need to do to set up the group for success, particularly when members have different level of maturity as coaches, willingness, openness, and readiness to open up and be vulnerable. You may think because they are coaches, they are going to be ready, but it's not the case many times. Will you agree with me that we think that just because we are coaches, we expect people to be open and vulnerable and mature, and it's not always the case. Now, most of the time, the people who are there may not even come to supervision in the extreme, like in a cycle, they may not even, these are the coaches who may not even ask for supervision or go there. But I'm wondering, anybody want to share some experiences, some learning lessons about contracting where you have some challenges around that? So one of the challenges in diversity is coaches coming from different level of experience as supervisees, understanding what is supervision and how it works. What are the challenges that you have faced working with groups in contracting, in setting up for success?
Well, if I jump in, Damian,
Yeah,
I agree with what
please.
you just said. I think, it depends on if the coaches are independent coaches coming together or if they're in a system already. Because if they're in a system already, the whole issue you're talking about, how open, because there's an element of not wanting to expose yourself in front of your peers and potentially shame if you've handled a situation in a way that other people might find less than optimal.
Definitely.
And so if
When people are internal, also there is the issue of confidentiality. Fear that whatever you share about the coach that you're working with, anybody may know the person. And
so it becomes more difficult when it's an intact organization of coaches. There's longevity. It's easier when you come together and then disappear and
One recent sort of challenge or opportunity I had was that I supervised within the humanitarian coaching network, and it's a pro bono coaching, pro bono supervision. And last year I had a group, and they wanted to continue, and because this is like they were five, and they allocated another coach to the group. And we had to sort of, instead of just coming in and we know each other, like I had to be really mindful of how do I bring this new coach into this system, if you like, that been together for over a year and had, I don't know, 6, 7 sessions together. So I think that could be a challenge, like how do you bring on a new team member? In short, sorry, long story, but the short essence is how do you bring in a new team member?
now, they were a team, or they were just a group with different
Group
people that
random
random group.
coaches
Okay,
who are
yeah,
who are coaching within the HCN system.
that's a good question. That's a great question. When you're doing group supervision and you have not necessarily like what Bruce was talking about, you're working with an intact organization and you're working. How do you support somebody new to? So what do you think? What are good practices for that? For everybody. It's a question for everybody. What do we do? What everybody, when you had to integrate, I had to do that recently. So what do you do? What do you think works?
I think one of the common factors, even with what Bruce brought up and what you just said, is to develop trust, because it doesn't really matter whether all the coaches are in the same organization or it's a random group. There are pluses and minuses to both, I think, because there's a certain amount of bonding that has gone on before, in an internal group in an organization that you don't have with individuals coming from different places and different levels. Both Jeanne-Elvire and I coach with Coaching for Social Justice, and we have groups that last for 7 months, and they're all different people from different stages and coaches who are very experienced to some who they've never even experienced supervision, and that's also very challenging. But I think it's the building of the trust that's so important in that agreement phase, because that's where the seeds of that level of comfort, level of trust, security actually start in the very beginning.
And one of the ways to, yeah, go ahead, Genevieve.
And that's where contracting and recontracting is always something that we have to come back to, because I agree with Sunni what she said. The group that I supervise in Africa, it is I have about 10 people in the group, and sometimes I have returning people, and sometimes people who are coming for the first time. And once there is one new person in the group, the energy change. So I feel like I need to recreate the trust each time and recall people about the rules so they know. And because otherwise, if I don't do that, people feel like they're not at the right place. But we want them to participate. So it's always important to maintain the trust and to co-create a space with them. It's not about I'm going to offer you a safe space. We're going to co-create it. So people just relax and feel like it is not something that is imposed to them, and they can take part to the creation of that safe space. And for us, it's definitely always coming back to contracting and recontracting.
There is something that Lily says that I really like. I don't know if everybody knows Lily Ciro. She's my co-facilitator for the America's Coaching Supervision Network, and she was the author of the book that we were discussing before, the co-author. And she says, because you say that there is a safe place, that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that is a safe space. Just saying that this is a safe space, just declaring this is a safe space, that doesn't make the space safe. So I'm going to repeat that because it's in language. So what I wanted to say is that declaring that we have a safe space don't make that space necessarily safe. You still need to co-create with the participants what people need for that to happen. Because I have heard that many times, and Lily once said that, and she's right. It's like just saying, okay, this is safe space where everybody can. Just saying, okay, this is safe space is not enough.
That's why some people refer to it as courageous space and not necessarily safe. But it does take courage constantly to re-contract, to re-agree, to revisit your agreements.
There's something in it too, though, about trust, about, I go back to basics when I'm working. Anytime a team, and whether it's a supervision team or a team that I'm consulting to, an executive team, if there's a change in membership, it needs to reform. And so you have to go back to basics. Who are you? Why are you here? Who am I? Why am I here? So I go back to introductions. We have to tell our story.
Yeah.
And that's how we build the trust. And then we can contract. But I don't think we can contract without trust.
Yeah. And that's a great point. By sharing the story, it's like a little bit what we did today, ask everybody to introduce each other in 1 minute. We didn't have time to share everybody's story, but at least it's a way to start getting to know people. And you wonder when you get to know them, can I trust them? And we all relate to trust differently too. There are some people that it's easier to open up.
Absolutely.
And for
Yes.
some people, they really need to get to a place where there is proof in some way that it's a safe space to share and be vulnerable, that they're not going to be judged negatively. Yeah. So going back to this question, what else can we do when we have a new member? So one of the things, generally you said before, I agree, is clarifying ground rules. Reminding people, okay, what are the ground rules, how we're going to be working together, for people to introduce each other. What else? What else can we do as group supervisors to support the group to build that
Also
trust?
get people to participate in establishing those ground rules. So you're not
Yeah.
just giving it to them, that they are investing by giving their own ideas about those parameters and ground rules.
Yeah. Co-creating them.
There's
Damian, I
something
think that, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jacqui.
Okay. Damian, I was thinking, because I've had, as a supervisee, a lot of experience of being integrated well or not into an existing group. And these days now, I really say what it is that I need from the supervisor in order to, make sure that people are aware of me, who I am, even before I show up. I'm inviting people to the supervisor to share that, because a couple of times when I've been brought into a group, we haven't necessarily been exposed to what all this group is now saying. recontracting, rules of the game being restated and or reestablished. And I think there's something there for the individual supervisee joining a group to be clear about, to themselves what it is they're going to need, and sharing that with the supervisor before they arrive. So there's some responsibility there for the individual. But to be fair, when you're joining supervision for the first or second time in a group setting, and unlike what Bruce said, if they're coming from an established cohort, they've trained together or something like that, if they're not in that situation, they don't know what they don't know. So really the onus is on the supervisor. And one of the things that I felt didn't work well was, and I'd waited for a year to join this group, by the way. It was, run by a celebrity, quite a well-known supervisor in the UK, and, very established. And I was quite surprised in a way that it didn't, that she didn't do some of these basic things that we're all talking about. But one of the things that we did later when we brought in a new person was, instead of learning about it on the day that we showed up, so we showed up for a normal session and we learned that Joe Bloggs had left the group for whatever reason, and a new person was going to be joining. So there was no kind of discussion about it. It was just, this is what we need, another person, so this person's been drafted in. And after a while, I think, all of us realized that this wasn't a cool thing to do. And perhaps the next time we bring someone in, we might do it slightly differently. So there was an evolution in the group around its own maturity, and for the group to say to the supervisor what it needed as well. And it was just very interesting to be party to that. And it really has, really caused me to think very carefully. And the book is brilliant, by the way. If you haven't got it, it's brilliant for groups. And if you to really think about this, because it is very scary coming into a group of people you don't know. To everyone else's point, you don't know if you can share stuff. You don't know how it's going to land. And it's the supervisor's responsibility to really set that up for success in exactly the same way as it's the coach's responsibility to set up a team engagement for its success. People need that safety. They need that structure, I think, before the trust they can lower their defenses and their humanity, and the trust can evolve from there. So it's been quite interesting being on the receiving end.
Thank you for sharing that, because these are all of the things that how we can be more intentional. How we can be more intentional in terms of taking some of these steps, like to.
So there is not only one way to create trust. It depends on the group and the evolving group, So I totally agree with you, Jacqui, that when we say create trust, it is a word, and then we have to adapt to the context. And this is the supervisor responsibility. And also, somebody already said it before, always ask people to voice. What do you need? What will be okay for you? And then when people start opening up, you see that it is contagious. People will open up more. So you just need one or two people to open up, then it go viral, Definitely.
Yeah, indeed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the reason why when you're working with any kind of groups and somebody opens up at the beginning is a really great gift for everybody, because if that person survives, like they give a message for everybody, okay, this is a safe space for everyone to do that, to support that. The sooner that happens, the better. Now, there is another part too, in terms of when we're working with groups in general, that is this issue of shame. And I didn't pay a lot of attention at the beginning when I started doing group supervision, and then I got it, and I thought I should have been more thoughtful about how we relate to that, because at the end of the day, we all want to look good. We all want our colleagues look at us and respect us. So how do you bring the insecurities, knowing that people are going to be supportive? So part of that is contracting, but how else we can deal with this issue? What else do you think we can do?
Normalizing we are not perfect, and group
Mhm.
supervision can be a messy process.
Yeah. So sometimes normalizing, validating the experience, saying that what you said.
Mm. And I had recently an experience in it was a drop-in session and it was only a one-off session. And somebody, when we checked in, she said group supervision can be messy. And then when it got messy, it gave me or us with my co-facilitator the opportunity to say, well, this is what happens if things can get messy. So how can we sort of support, move forward? And it was more around, I think, cultural differences, assumptions, like one of the participants felt like, how can, like, she's crying, and then how can you not even acknowledge it? But we were like more on time, like all these, like as you are juggling a group and expectations and some were experienced to your point, and some never experienced supervision. So that was their first experience. But yeah.
And we all relate differently to groups too. Like some people feel comfortable speaking in groups, and some people doesn't matter where they are. They are not comfortable. It's challenging and difficult for them to. They are more comfortable listening, and they appreciate being there and may support other people, but they may be more reserved in every group that they participate. So it's not just group supervision. It's just. So like I have a colleague of mine and she said groups are not for me. I like individual supervision, but I don't like, even as a supervisor, working with groups. It's like it may not be for everybody. I love groups. If I had to choose, I would rather work with groups than individuals because it's like I'm learning from everybody. And sometimes I even feel that they're helping me to do my work. We are like co-creating the experience. So I think it's fun. But it's messy. And then there may be conflict. So that's another interesting piece. What do you do with conflict in a team, in a group, when you're doing group supervision and there is conflict between the participants?
Yeah.
Anybody have any experiences that you want to share about that?
I do, because
Yeah.
I think, well, I already asked you, Damian, about this, so I think I know what your opinion is, but I'd like to hear it from other people here.
Great.
Because I have been a supervisor in a group where you are the odd person out. So you'd have to think of a group where everyone in the group is alike except for you. You're the sole person who is different than the other group. So your characteristics, whether it's cultural, racial, or whatever, for instance, a woman with all males in a group. And I was the only woman of color in this group as the supervisor. And I found it very helpful. We're talking about context to actually, and it was during the process where the group was co-creating the guidelines of the group. And everyone was contributing and it was going well. And as the supervisor, I also felt a certain accountability for myself and my own identity to also be a member of the group at the same time, because those things often you cannot just clearly separate. So I told them that I was going to give a contribution to these guidelines creation as who I was as a member of the group and not as the supervisor. And the group was really grateful for that, to hear my voice and my perspective as a member of the group and the supervisor. So I don't know what other people think about that. If you're in it in a situation, for instance, as I said, you're the only woman, you're the facilitator, and what's coming up in the group has to do with gender and gender issues, that you would give some contribution to that group as a member as well as a supervisor, but very clearly delineate and again have the group excuse me, be comfortable with this when you're giving that input as a member and not as the group supervisor. Is it clear? Asking? Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of no, it's important what you're saying because it's two levels, you know. But for me, I do have the belief that a conflict in the group can be embraced. You can just deal with it in embracing way, you know, because conflict always allow people to grow. For me, that is my belief. So you can deal with it by finding, you know, a way for people to embrace that conflict, or it's a conflict for regulation. It can be also that, also embracing, regulating, or it is an avoidant conflict that also needs to be addressed, you know. So a conflict is not negative. It means something is going on and people has to become aware of it for their own growth and for the growth of the group as well. So what you said is important because you have that additional layer, which was about you being a woman of color and being the supervisor. But at the bottom of that, the meaning of a conflict is something that will make the group evolve.
Now, this wasn't particularly a conflict, but you know, it was a difference, but not a conflict.
Yeah.
And I felt it was in the group's interest, as you're saying, for them to hear a voice that was different, because everybody, you know, was very much, there was a lot of similarity in the group and a lot of comfort level in that. But I felt a need for a different voice. And once I expressed myself, I put my hat back on as supervisor and we moved forward.
Nice.
But they seem to really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But again, I wanted to know whether other people have experienced that or been in a situation where they thought, well, maybe I would like to contribute, but not as a supervisor, and make that very clear to the group that where I'm coming from and what I'm showing up as in this moment. And it didn't disrupt the group. It didn't cause a problem as far as I could see. And I don't think I've had that experience since then. But that was just the particular experience that I had.
I'm curious, Sunni, because there's something in this about, you know, I'm going back to system psychodynamics, which is where I ground my work. And there's something about, you know, one of our roles is containers. And part of containment is the certainty of, you know, boundary, task, role. And what you're doing is stepping out of role as supervisor. And I'm wondering if that might have been, I'm just curious whether or not that might erode the containment. Because, you know, our certainty of role is part of what we bring in to contain the process. So I maintain my role as supervisor. I have a point of view. You know, I'm a gay man. I also have difference. Sometimes not as visible. But I can contribute that to a group without stepping out of the supervisor role. I can say things like, I think we might be avoiding a conversation about sexuality or gender or race. And I can do that in my role as supervisor. I don't feel I have to step out of it to contribute that to the group.
I hear what you're saying, I think, Bruce, but in this particular situation, I felt it really had a different kind of impact rather than just a very neutral comment about, and it would, to tell you the truth, it was around safety and psychological safety. And as we pointed out earlier in this group, that's very different for different people.
Yeah.
And I wanted each one of them to know that, because I think this has been this banting around about what cycle, kind of like what Damian said, what Lily said, something has to be sometimes brought to awareness, realization that is very important. And I think we are responsible for, and as co-creating the container, but even as a supervisor, I'm not responsible for maintaining it. You know what I mean? So I don't feel like I'm restricted in that sense. I think that point, I think it was Jeanne-Elvire talked about growth, and growth comes with that discomfort, even as a supervisor, and having to explain and maintain my presence as a supervisor and an individual, and balance and integrate those things in a very fluid way. And I'm not saying in every situation this should happen, but I think it's a supervisor's discretion to really see when it's necessary.
I've got something to add to that, if I may.
Sure.
And I'm taking a slightly different view to Bruce on this. And I'm using it through the lens of the training I've had in team coaching and all the work that I do and have done for the last 15 years in team coaching. And we always say that as co-coaches, because I work with a co-coach normally when we're with teams, we are part of the team. We may be the coaches, but we are part of the team. We're part of the system. We're part of, the moment we're there, we're part of them. So if you take that forward into group supervision, and that's how I would, then how we experience it as both a member and a coach, or in this case, supervisor, is going to be quite different, potentially, depending on what it is, the topic. And the second point that I'm thinking how it can be so useful is that part of our job as coaches, supervisors, is to offer, or at least, bring a broadening of perspective. Well, that's an interesting point. I wonder what else, like Damian's done it even today, what else can we do? What else is available to us? And here's something that's coming up for me. I mean, we do that as coaches. We do it as supervisors. So that's my 10 pennyworth. If we're working with groups and the systems that they're in, we are part of that the moment we enter their world. Especially if we're working with the same group over a period of time, which we do. Same for supervisors, same for group supervisors. So I think there's something there about offering up and being vulnerable ourselves as what it feels like to be a member of this team, in my case, and what it feels like to be a member of this group when we are so different to the rest of you. And then to offer that up as a different perspective, I think that's part of our job. That's my thoughts.
Totally resonate with you, Jacqui, and Sunni. That absolutely, we are also part of the team, of the group, absolutely. Yeah.
It's interesting because we may have different perspectives about that. What I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But I think
I'm
it's
sure.
great because I see it differently. I see
Yeah.
that as a team coach, I am part of the system. And I am definitely sad by being there, even without speaking, impacting what's happening in the team. But I wouldn't say that I am part of the team, because if I say that I am part of the team, I will feel in some way responsible for the outcome of what's
Yeah, but I
happening.
don't. Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I think you can
But
be
if but
feel
the
part
team,
of
if
it.
you're a member of the
Yeah.
team, if you're a member of the team, you are, because this is what makes the team successful, is like collaboration and participation. We define team. It's also about boundaries. What is a team and how
Absolutely.
we define teams? Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
the same thing about the role of what I had told Sunni when you came up with the situation is your intervention is great. I think it's great that you brought whatever you want to bring. I think that we need to use self as instrument. So when
Yeah,
you use self as
definitely.
instrument, I think it's the best gift that we can give to our teams when we're working as team coaches or as supervisors, when we're working with teams or groups or individuals, is we're bringing our experience. but I don't necessarily need to leave my role to do that. I align a little bit more with Bruce here because I think that from your role as supervisor, you can say anything you want that you think will bring value to the conversation that you're having as a group. So why do you need to leave the role of a supervisor? You may say, is it okay if I also share what will help? You will say me as a person, not only as a supervisor, as a member of this group. But I don't think necessarily that you are leaving your role as a group supervisor. This is
Yeah, but I don't
another
think
possible way to look at it.
I don't feel like I'm leaving my role, but I think I'm making a distinction and awareness that I say for, in this particular contribution, I'm taking off my supervisor hat and I'm putting it back on. Just so that there's clarity about it, because Damian, even people who, when you don't say, people who give the supervisor's comments more emphasis and more weight, regardless of what you say. You don't even have to say anything, but often when you make a comment, everybody listens because you're the supervisor, right? And sometimes I think it's necessary to bring down that hierarchy, in the group that exists without comment, the understood hierarchy, and say, this is where this is coming from as a co-member of this group. And like
the question is
different.
But the question is, it's a valid point, and I agree with what you're saying. But what I'm wondering too is, even you say, I am talking here as a member, are they still being able to see you there? Is your intention? Your intention is just to bring something like everybody else.
But I can see if you're talking in a group discussion and they're all men there and you're talking about something like sexual abuse, I cannot imagine that a woman would sit there and as a supervisor and go through an entire hour discussion and never contribute as a woman's perspective in that group discussion. I would feel compelled at some point to
I agree with you, but that doesn't mean I agree completely with you, but that doesn't mean necessarily that you need to leave that role of the supervisor. You can still share whatever you want to share.
Well, again, I don't consider it leaving the role. I just consider it identifying the truth.
Where you're coming from. What is the source of your comment?
Not leaving my role, again, because it was really important to me that the members knew that I was still very much accountable as supervisor of this group. And that, maybe putting the weight on one thing, the comment, and the other kind of equitized the comment rather than making it here or there. It was just, me. Anyway, so thank you for it. Anyone else?
Well, there is not one.
I love this.
There is not one size fits all, definitely. And I think that we can come from different lenses. Even what Bruce was saying, the thing is that sometimes we become vulnerable ourselves because we are human. And this is just a way to tell people, okay, I am your supervisor, but from a human being standpoint, this is maybe something that I can share with you. This is it, which doesn't mean that you are giving away your responsibility of the way that you are being a supervisor. People need that because me, for example, supervising some women in the African continent, I'm really on the really fine line sometimes. They need to have you, come in the situation yourself and explain that you're not just being curious because they're going to open up. Then you can say, okay, don't worry. I know that place. I have been there. That's all. So that makes people comfortable to say, okay, I can open up. And that you can feel right away that you have sort of regulation in the group. Then people will start speaking and you say, wow, the energy has changed,
Really interesting debate. I love it.
Yes.
we need to have more of these different experiences and ways of looking at from different angles. At the end of the day, I don't think we really disagree. I think at the end of the day, it's more about boundaries and how we interpret things. But I think that we are talking about the same thing.
I'd like to
Okay,
also add, just
yeah.
to add, what Sunny says is, I think, is so meaningful because it's also a space to co-create and also modeling that you can be open to share what you care about, and you're very human and being vulnerable and openness. So that's trust, because once you speak, how to share what you care about, and then you embrace diversity and you can see what others can see, so you're able to open up and then modeling that. I think that's so important.
Yes,
That will
agree.
bring the
Yeah.
whole group at a different level. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you for everyone's feedback. I really appreciate it.
Great conversation. So we need to wrap up. So let's go around really fast. Just anything you want to say before we go? Just a couple of sentences.
Hey, Zaf, I was
Fantastic.
hearing the discussion. No,
Yeah.
it's just that it felt like we straddle the line, participating and being the leader or supervisor, and it's fuzzy. And everybody in the group may see that hierarchy or power difference or whatever differently. And we are constantly co-creating, we are constantly contracting. Every interaction is that. And so my hands wanted to do this as we were talking, right? It's just that constant dance. And so that's what's been emerging for me as I do this.
Wanna go next?
Something for next time, maybe whenever we meet next. You mentioned it earlier, which we didn't sort of get into, that thing, or that concept around shame and how that shows up for people. It shows up a lot with the groups I'm with, teams I work with, and it's very invisible unless, the trust is there that people start to step into that. And I'd love for us to put that on the burner for next time if we could.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Damian, and thank you everybody for co-creating this space and a very interesting conversation, and a lot to learn, a lot to be mindful of.
Hi, Zsofia.
Yeah. And if our group or coaching places are sometimes challenging, I think that sort of discussion today help us stretch, in a space that we can share different lenses and still be who we are. And that's what I'm really taking away from this discussion today.
Bruce,
Yeah, I
anything
just
you want
want
to
to,
say?
yeah, I was going to say thanks for, I reconnected after a couple of years of not being in this group, and it was very valuable. So thank you.
Great to have you back. And Sunni, anything you want to
If
say?
everybody has spoken, Damian, I just want to say one word about the book club that I'm sending a list now. And the first two that we have this year, that was about the gray space between psychotherapy and coaching. And the one we had yesterday was really, really valuable. That was about leadership. Incredible. And Sunny was there. And I will really invite all coaches and supervisors here to step in sometime and come to this book club because it's really, really interesting.
So what we can do, I am
you
reading
said-
also
in Australia, 2
for
a.m. in
the.
Australia. So unfortunately,
Yeah.
as
Okay.
Simcho said, it's
Are
not
you
for
recording
you,
them?
Stephen.
Are they recorded?
Well, I record the one from yesterday because we have a brilliant guy, and maybe Sunny can't tell you because I cannot be church and party at the same time. Sunny can say it very quickly.
It was really very, very interesting. And someone who had spent a lot of research time on this idea of leadership, and it's not the typical approach, I think. and he has shared a lot of kind of psychodynamic perspectives and really kind of blew everybody away. But he was very engaging and really fascinating. So you can listen to the tape and see what you
Very
think.
good.
But
If you
it
can
was
share
great.
that, it would be nice if we can share it. So, Sunny, anything you want to say before we go? I don't think we hear you.
I did. I just wanted to
Ah,
thank everyone
okay.
for,
Okay.
giving feedback, which is,
Good.
that's, what I have my anticipation or expectation from other coaches, not to be shut down, not to be told, your perspective is ridiculous, but to give the curiosity and the exploration of ideas and perspectives. And as Damian said, there's no right or wrong. It's about really sharing experiences. So thank you.
Good. What we
Thank
can
you,
do also,
everyone.
Jeanne-Elvire, is if you have what we share for the America Coaching Supervision Network, I can also share that in the Asian network if you want the invitation to the flyer that you put together.
Please,
I can start doing
really,
that. I will start doing that.
yes, but because what I'm doing now is that I ask people to give me feedback, and then I can circulate the feedback as well with the screenshot of participants. Yeah.
Good. Good seeing
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
We'll see
Bye,
you
Simchu.
next
It's good to
month.
see you. Bye,
Let's see.
everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
Sunny. Thank you. Bye.